So, Harley Davidson Street Glide from 2009. Why do people buy this? That's the question. Now let's find out in this review. Let's go. Okay, I hope you're understanding me, because the engine or the exhaust is a bit loud, and that's not something that I'm used to. To begin, I have to be honest, I am an ex-owner of multiple Harley Davidsons. I've owned, my first Harley Davidson was a Harley Davidson Sportster 1200. My second was a Harley Davidson Fat Bob. My third was also a Harley Davidson Street Glide. So I think I can say, I think I can tell you the reason why. And my fourth Harley was a Harley Davidson FXDX Dyna Sport Glide. So I've had multiple Harleys, and the Street Glide was always a bike that I wanted, but I always thought, okay, I'm going to buy it when I'm a bit older. But 2 or 3 years ago, I was the happy owner of a Harley Davidson Street Glide from 2013, which was quite comparable with this bike. This bike is the Harley Davidson from my father, so and he's wanting to sell it because, yeah, he doesn't ride it as much as he would like to. So he asked me to make some pictures and to make the ad. So I thought it was a really good opportunity to review a Harley Davidson Street Glide. And I have to say, first kilometers since a long time that I've ridden on a Harley Davidson Street Glide, it feels very yeah, how do you say that? It feels like coming home. It feels exactly this as I expected. It's a big battleship. It's a cruiser, touring bike. So yeah. So we're going to review this bike, of course. So we're going to do the usual stuff. We're going to do a walk around. We're going to talk about the specs a bit. We're going to talk about the history of this bike, and yeah, brakes, suspension, that kind of stuff. But mainly the reason why people would buy this bike and why you should consider buying a Street Glide. So let's go. Okay, let's do a little walk around the bike. As I said, this is not my first Street Glide, so I should know it a little bit. So this is a 2009 Harley Davidson Street Glide. I think this has the 96 cubic inch engine, so that translates to around 1550 cc, so it's a pretty big engine. It's completely air cooled. Okay, let's just wait until the truck is passing by. So it's completely air cooled. Some models have a really small oil cooler on the front. This one doesn't. It's a touring bike, of course, so it has luggage, so it has cases, which is pretty nice. Pretty big cases also. A really comfy seat, a really big seat, and this particular model has an sort of seat backrest thingy going on there. This bike is, of course, not 100% original, which Harley Davidson is, right? So it's powder coated, so all the stuff, all the front forks are powder coated, the crash bars are powder coated, this cover is powder coated. Yeah, I think that's about it. It's completely redone with painting because yeah, my dad liked it like that, and I do like the full black look of this bike. Absolutely love it. It has, which is interesting, it has a lot of, how do you say that? Room for a passenger. And it also has a really interesting shifter, so you can shift on the front and on the back. It's a 6-speed transmission, so it's pretty straightforward. It doesn't have any tech in terms of ABS, traction control, something like that. It does have a radio, which is really nice. Vance & Hines exhaust at the back. And I think the most important thing of the Street Glide is the bat wing. Of course, they call it the bat wing because it looks a little bit like a bat. And yeah, this is just really iconic for the Street Glide. And I do think that this model, so the earlier model without the slide in it, is a little bit prettier than the newer model. But I do like the newer model also. I think these brakes are from Brembo. But they're Harley branded, and it has steel braided brake lines, which is pretty nice. So important thing on this kind of bikes is comfort, of course, and you have a lot of comfort when sitting in the cockpit. So we have a lot of gauges. This one is an US spec bike, so it has the miles an hour. You can change that to kilometers an hour if you want. This bike has 22,000 miles on it, or 23 almost, so that means it translates to roughly 33,000 kilometers, something like that. It has a radio. My dad installed some Bluetooth on it, but that's pretty much about it. It has a standard handlebar, which I like because I don't like the high handlebars. I do think that for people that are a little bit tall, it's better, but I think it doesn't help with the overall feel of the bike. And you have a bat wing to protect you from the wind, so why put your hands above the bat wing? It doesn't make sense, but yeah, each to their own. So you can control the radio on these buttons, and you have the horn, lights, and everything. It has cruise control, which is really nice because you need to understand that old bikes don't have cruise control, but the Street Glide and the touring bikes of Harley were pretty early with it. So yeah, that's nice. It's ride by wire, I think, even. So yeah, pretty cool. Big speakers. So you have a miles an hour, you have a speedometer, a tachometer, a voltmeter, or oil meter, which is really important with Harley Davidson. No, I'm joking. Air temperature, which is in Fahrenheit. So yeah, I don't know the exact calculation, and of course a fuel indicator, but not a range indicator or something like that. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. You can fill up the gas with this, and that's it. They do which is really nice with Harley Davidsons. They do have most of them have keyless ride, so you don't have to put any key in it. Just start it. I have the key on me right now, so I'm going to start it, and we're going to ride a little bit more. Okay, I've been riding this bike for a couple of hours now, and it's feeling like home, as I said. I really like it. So this bike is a little bit adjusted, so this bike is not standard. It has new Roadlok suspension, which makes the bike really good, and it's really comfortable. I like it. So in terms of handling, this bike is really heavy. It's over 400 kilos. It's a really heavy bike, and you can't ignore it. You do feel it. If people say, well, as long as you ride you don't feel it, nah, it's not true. You absolutely notice it. It's quite, how do you say that, a struggle to get it in corners, and that's not a bad thing, you know. It's really stable in long corners, and it's also, yeah, really comfortable. And because it's so long and it's so heavy, yeah, it's a touring bike, you know. So you don't need to expect anything like, okay, this bike is going to be a track bike or something like that. You do have the bagger races, of course, but those bikes are heavily modified. So this is a good touring bike in terms of handling. Yeah, I like it. One thing that I want to say about the sound, and that's what Harleys are known for, a real bassy, throaty sound. Of course, it doesn't have any original exhausts, but it's not too loud. It is loud, but it's not too loud. I like it, and that's the reason why you buy a Harley, right? To make it sound really good, and you instantly feel cool on this bike. So that's the difference between, let's say, let's hop on a Suzuki or something. You feel a little bit, yeah, like a normal motorcyclist, but on this bike you feel cool, you feel tough, like the South Park guys. In terms of engine power, this bike has 1500 cc's or something like that. It doesn't have a lot of horsepower. I think around 70 horsepower. So that's that's really really nothing in comparison with the engine size. But it does have a lot of torque. It pulls really good. And it has really low RPMs when cruising, which is very nice. But they do say that Harleys are the most efficient way to turn gasoline into noise without the added benefit of horsepower, and that's it. That's this. But you don't buy a Harley for speed. You buy it for cruising. You buy it for the sound and the feeling you get from this bike, and that is really good. Yeah. Comfort, which is a really big thing on this bike, of course, because it's a touring bike. It's made to make a really long distance trip, cruising on the highway at relatively high speed, which I'm not riding right now. I'm riding 50 miles an hour, so that's about 80. It is really comfortable, but you do get a little bit of a pressure on your lower back because you're sitting really down low and your legs are forward, which I really like. I really like the fact that how my legs are sitting right now. It's like sitting on a sofa or something. It should bring you all day comfort, but it's really dependable on what you like, because some people do get some back pain on this kind of bikes. And the backrest is invented for that exact same reason, which is of course with this bike, but not installed right now. What I do think is the wind buffeting on this bike. This is not an original screen, of course, but is not that great. I don't like it, and it's also of course really dependable on your height. So I'm 187 centimeters or 1.87 meters, and yeah, it's just not the most wind. Yeah, the wind buffeting is just not very good. But as I said, it's easily fixed. You can install a new windscreen and then you're fine. I do like the fact that you don't have a lot of wind on your chest, so it's not fatiguing in that regard. But yeah, wind buffeting is not that good. Question we need to ask ourselves: why should you buy a Harley Davidson? Why should you buy a Harley Davidson Street Glide? So, as an expert in this field, because I've had 4, including a Street Glide, I can tell you why I bought a Street Glide. The number one reason I bought Street Glide is just because they look so cool. You instantly, you feel cooler than without a Harley Davidson, and I think that's the power of this bike. It has a lot of cool factors, and it just has the cool factor, if you know what I mean. And the second reason is all-day comfort. So if you are planning to do long distances, doing big trips with luggage, with a pillion, this bike is almost unmatched. Of course, when I bought my BMW GSA, that bike was better, but the thing is, the bike is pretty high, and it can sometimes be a bit of a hassle for your partner to get on the bike on the back. So yeah, that's not the most ideal thing if you have a really high bike. And on this bike, because this bike is so low, it's easily to get on, it's easily to get off. But yeah, the number one reason for me was the looks, the coolness of the bike, and in my case, you know, riding Harley Davidsons is, yeah, how do you say that? It's a lifestyle. It sounds really stupid because a lot of people say that, but it's just a way of life. You get a community with it, if you like it or not. If you buy a Harley Davidson, you're also buying a lifestyle, and that was also the reason I was brought up with Harley Davidsons. Now let me just fill it up and continue my story. One moment. Does have a pretty good fuel range. In my experience, it was around 400 kilometers or something like that. So pretty good, reasonable. Let's push it in. Yes, got it. Yeah, so I said you're buying a lifestyle with this bike, and I grew up with Harleys. My dad had one, my mother had one. I was on the back of a Harley since I was 5 or 7. I'm not sure, but I was pretty young. And yeah, somehow, yeah, it was just a way of life. Harleys were motorcycles, and motorcycles were Harleys. So, as I grew up with it, I need to understand why people buy Harley Davidsons. And it's pretty hard to how do you say that? How to quantify it? Because you only know when you have ridden a Harley Davidson why people buy Harley Davidsons. If you look at the spec sheet of a Harley Davidson, you're like, this is a whole lot of money for not a lot of bike, you know? It's heavy, it's slow, it's noisy, it's archaic technology. It's just on specs, on paper. It's a really bad bike. But if you ride it, you get a feeling with Harleys that you don't get with a lot of other bikes. There's one brand that matches it, in my opinion, and that's the Gooseys, especially the air-cooled Gooseys. But yeah, it's just special, you know. And if you're ever considering buying a Harley Davidson, I could definitely recommend to just try it, ride it, get the feeling of it, and then decide if you want an Harley Davidson. So, overall conclusions, and should you buy an Harley Davidson Street Glide? If you like Harleys, if you like touring bikes, I would definitely consider to buy it, because they are really comfortable, they sound great, they look cool, yeah, they're just awesome, they brake very good, the handling is okay, yes, they are heavy, but yeah, you get a lot of emotion, character in Harley Davidson. You buy a lifestyle if you want that, if you want to join that lifestyle, of course. You can also choose not to. They have a really cool clothing. Yeah, I would definitely recommend to check out an Harley Davidson Street Glide. Would I buy it again? Absolutely. If I had the chance to buy a Street Glide and I have the funds and I have the room, I would absolutely buy it again as a fun cruiser bike, which I can go with my girlfriend on long trips, just cruise the highway, not being yeah, how do you say that? Yeah, just a really good bike. Just cruising with my girlfriend and taking it easy, relaxing, listening to some music, and just be a cool guy. Yeah, I would like that eventually. So maybe if my garage is big enough and I can have a lot of I have enough funds to buy it, I would definitely do it. So I hope you liked this video. If you do, please leave a like, thumbs up, and if you didn't subscribe yet, please do. I will make a lot more reviews. So see you in the next videos.